Hey, what's up, everybody? This is From the Gate Podcast. I'm Lisi.
Seth.
And we are over here talking about the crabs in a bucket mentality.
Whoa.
Something that I'm sure many of us are familiar with. Thank you guys for tuning in to From the Gate Podcast again. We're over here talking about crabs in a bucket. And not the pincher crabs that you like to go and eat when you're at the seafood boil. And what's that seafood boil place that does like they have like crab legs and mussels?
Where?
And I don't know.
The ocean?
No, there's a it's called something crab.
See this guy? Number one bullshit guy.
Joe's Crab?
I think so. I don't know.
Oh, the restaurant.
Yes.
I don't give a fuck.
You looking at me like it's supposed to be a liquor store. Oh.
But yeah, we're not talking about no seafood boils. We're not talking about the crabs that you can eat. We're talking about the actual mentality of crabs in a bucket. We hear this phrase all the time, and I'm sure many of us have experienced people that come into our lives and are like the crabs in a bucket, where they won't let you out. They keep pinching at you, bring you down. You get up a little bit, and then all of a sudden you find yourself right back down at the bottom of the bucket because you have these people that just consistently are bringing you down. Crabs in a bucket mentality. What is it? Why do we experience it? And how do we get out of it? So for me, crabs in a bucket mentality, I think the first time I've ever experienced this was when I was a kid. Every time I tried to learn something new, or I would always have people who were trying to compete to be better, and then they would like say things to me to push me down more. And like when I was learning creative dancing for the first time, during the time I was learning creative dancing, remember that time you fell off the stage? Very quick to point out the things that I messed up on.
Isn't
And I was
that
like,
natural or no?
that should not be natural. It is natural. It's human nature, but it's not something that should be natural. Like, it's not something that we should make as a normal thing.
Right, because we all tend to bring up something that we messed up on first.
Exactly.
Instead of like what they did.
Which is what the crab in a bucket mentality is. Constantly reminding you of your mistakes, so you feel like you gotta go right back down again to the bottom and then figure out how to crawl your way back up. So how do we fight against these types of...
They call that, I think, latch onto the climbers.
Latch onto the climbers?
I'm just kidding.
Well, if you latch onto the climbers, aren't you just causing more weight, and then you guys both end up...
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, because the other one's trying to get out, then you latch on it. Like, don't leave me. No, just playing.
It's like, no, you're not allowed to go nowhere.
Nowhere.
But the reason why we thought of the crabs in a bucket mentality is because it came about when we were watching the news one day, and on CNN it came up this article about Trump, how he had to pay $454 million in order to appeal $454 million.
450?
454 million.
Wow.
A million.
I don't even know how to count. Can you count that far?
No, nah. I can't even count to 10.
Not bad.
And this lawsuit was being brought against him by a group that felt that he was infringing on human rights, or he did infringe on human rights during his time as president. And so, yes, it's good to fight for other people's rights, but at the same time, there was a panel that talked about it on CNN, which is what caught my attention. And one of the ladies that on this certain subject had explained how Trump is basically a New York employer.
Because that's where his big old building is.
Yeah, exactly.
Trump,
that's where the headquarters is. It's in New York City. And so he's a New York employer with businesses all across the U.S. And yet
some people have like their offices and their business inside there, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Right, it's just called the Donald Trump building.
Trump Tower.
Trump Tower, there you go.
Yeah.
Dang.
Exactly. And so she was asking the ladies, why is it that my taxpayers' money has to go into supporting this lawsuit against Donald Trump when he's being sued for something, and the taxpayers are the ones that are having to pay for this lawsuit, but he personally has to give of his own money in order to appeal it or to go against it.
That's crazy.
Yes. And so while she was speaking, the first thing that came to my mind was, well, why are they doing this to him after the fact, after his presidency, now that he wants to go back into the White House and wants to make a change because he does see that the economy is suffering. He does see that we're about to go into a recession,
which is probably affecting some of his businesses.
Oh, absolutely,
probably,
it is affecting his business. It's affecting businesses all over, and he wants to rebuild from what happened during COVID. He wants to, like his slogan, "Make America Great Again."
It seems so long ago, but it was just what,
2020. Yeah, it's not that far. Yeah, this is the year for voting, guys. This is the year we get to vote for president again. But he sees it. He sees that there's a need, and he wants to fix it. He wants to fill it for the American people. And so all of a sudden, now that he wants to run for president again, all these different people are jumping into the bucket and wanting to drag him down, wanting to erase him from the ballots in their states, and wanting to sue him so that way his focus is on the lawsuits and not on running for president. Like, they're trying to do all these things to distract him and to keep him from going for presidency. For what? Back to the subject of the matter. I personally feel like he's being attacked for wanting to do something good. Like, he's being painted as this villain, but yet all he wants to do is be this public servant. And so why is it that we are trying to pull down someone who wants to do something good for the country? But why is it that you think that
everyone's so against him? Like, because
of things he said on social media in the past. Things
like we haven't said something bad, or
we all have.
We all have.
We've all done stupid things that we've posted on social media. We've all shared our personal lives on social media. We've all done something, one thing or another.
He gave out a few stimulus checks that year, huh?
He did. He made sure that the people were taken care of. During COVID, he was starting to rebuild the economy. You can't expect someone to rebuild the economy in just 2-3 years. No, like, that takes time to rebuild after years and years and years of being stuck in a certain cycle. And he was like, well, I know how to rebuild this cycle. I've gone through it with my business. I've experienced profits. I've experienced losses. What better than a businessman to be able to come into the presidency seat and being able to look at all these profits and losses and reconfigure it in order to make sure that we are starting to profit instead of owing money to places, owing money to here, owing money to there. And so, crabs in a bucket mentality, the whole idea of these different groups that are constantly coming at him, trying to tear him down, trying to bring him down to keep him from doing something good for the country.
Which is so crazy, though, because, like, just thinking back to that when he ran, everybody was talking about, like, Trump.
Yeah.
And, like, just to see it now, like, how, like, the tables turned, like, after, a few years after, it's crazy. Like, dang, like, like, how everyone's so confused. Like, one year everyone want to be like this, and next year goes by, then everyone's saying no, and then, like, I don't know, it's so hard to keep up with. But
it really is, but I feel like it's because things are constantly changing because of what's being portrayed in the media or even what people share on social media. And it doesn't help that social media's algorithm is designed for you to only see the things that you are interested in.
That way. Yeah.
And so because you're only seeing things from your perspective and from your side of the story, you're not getting the other side of the story.
And you don't even know it either.
Exactly. And so I feel that's where the crab in a bucket mentality comes from. It's from only focusing on your perspective and not wanting to see the other person's perspective or not wanting to hear the other side of the story.
I like your cut, G.
And oftentimes, I know for myself, I feel like that's what happens is people only see it from one side and then they like victimize that side, and then when you try to tell your side of the story, it's like, oh no, but that's not what I saw on Facebook. Oh no, that's not what I saw on Instagram. Oh no, that's not what I saw on TikTok. Oh no, that's not what I saw. There's so many different biases that we are confronted with in the world now, and I feel like a lot of those biases are what leads to other people tearing other people down.
I agree. And it just doesn't apply to politics.
No, absolutely
not. It could be for at a job, trying to get on a sport team, or just anything of that way, of crabs in the bucket. Because, like, I grew up politics was just, like, way, way too high for us at the time. Yes, you were supposed to go out and vote, and they teach you those things at school, but, like, we have other things. Like, you're trying to hide from a neighborhood from here. That we were so good at fighting and having to run from certain neighborhoods because some of us lived in some of these neighborhoods. So that's what you had to do. I'm serious. It's funny, but like Bob Wires, like fans, like boy,
What the heck? Really?
like anyone here in California, if you ran for the police or like at someone's neighborhood, like that's how you track star. It's funny now, like looking at it, like yes, we hopped fences, cut through here, have dogs barking, and like yes.
Try to figure out a way just to make it home.
Cut through this building. And,
The gangs of LA will never die.
so that's what we have to worry about more so than like the mayor of the city. But it is important. I do believe you do have to go out and vote because every vote counts.
Yeah, but we'll talk about like voting and those types of politics in a different episode when it gets closer to November and
So
voting.
who's up, by the way?
Trump's up right now.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is surprising considering all the things that he's facing right now. It's surprising that Trump is up. But in terms of like crabs in a bucket, what are some things that you think of when it comes to crabs in a bucket?
What do I think? Everyone wants to see you do good, just not better than them. That's how I was raised. I mean, that mentality is, I could break it down in so many different ways. That's like my father have always, forget about your friend, man. But yeah, that's how I interpret it. You feel like people that done this and done that, maybe they switched on you or maybe talked about you, and you think it was like this, you could apply it that way as well, right? Which we all go through.
And I have to admit, like, sometimes I feel like I've been that crab in the bucket, like, for other people.
You have to. Most of us is. And not, that's just part of being a human. I mean, right?
Exactly. There are people that I 100% have probably been, not probably, I have been that person to tear other people down and to say things that shouldn't have been said or to do things that shouldn't have been done for my own gain. Do you know what I mean? And just kind of looking back and reevaluating and looking at where I was to where I am now, I notice those things and I recognize those things about myself. And I try to think, what is it that I can do to where I'm consistently building people up instead of trying to be that crab that's pulling people down?
Because some people, they just want to be that in the bucket.
Yeah.
Well, they like, no one's going. If I ain't going, no one's going.
Yeah.
That kind of mentality.
Exactly.
And that's the one that you want to go away from. Which way again? Okay, you don't have to tell me. Stay right there, sir.
Yeah, exactly. I want to be the crab that's at the top of the bucket trying to help people get out of the bucket. That's what I want to be.
Well, I mean, what is more what is more exciting to see someone from where they came to where they are? Like, give or take, no one's perfect, but it's always enjoyable to just see someone that you grew up with where they are now. Like, dang, that's tight. Like, they might have kids that's doing this, and like with us, most Polynesians, the meal ticket is what?
NFL.
The NFL.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's good that we have that.
Yeah.
You have a better chance than the rest. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
You know what I'm saying?
We appreciate you in the National Football League.
I was never that in the bucket. For those that do know me, I always was a big advocate of wanting to do better. If this didn't work, let's do this. If that didn't work, let's do this.
Yeah.
So always just try to push for better in so many ways.
What are some things that you feel like you've done to make yourself like that?
It could be some of the simplest things, just as making your bed when you get up. Brush your stank-ass breath. No, I'm just kidding, but you know what I mean. Taking a shower, getting a nice clean haircut, just small things. Because when you do those things, you accomplish those things, I feel like you can accomplish anything because then you're all ready for the day. You're ready to attack some to-do list, going to work, feel good, you look good, and vice versa.
Do you even lift, bro?
What is it that you think would help with getting out of that crab in a bucket mentality?
It's very hard because it just applies to the individual differently. For me, it was hard because I was easy influenced. I was a follower. I listened to other people. And sometimes, you learn quicker than others. I didn't learn until later on.
Yeah.
But at least I caught on a little bit, right? Better soon than never.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you just got to be mentally strong. Don't be a yes, because when you become that person, this as well as I do.
Because I'm a yes man.
But just knowing sometimes you have to say no. Appreciate what you have now and do more with what you have.
And I think that's one thing that I appreciate about my dad, is because my dad is very much a person who has that mentality of, it doesn't matter what everybody else is saying, it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to achieve. And even though he's had people try to pull him down too so many times, but he constantly got out of the bucket and just tried to do better and be better for himself, and made sure that he was doing what he was passionate about, doing the things that he wanted to do to make him happy. And it shows in his life. And my dad is a very grateful person. And that's one of the things I admire about my dad so much, is because he really does live a life of gratitude. And just, even though he's got it, he's so simple. The way he lives is so simple, and it's so humbling. And I feel like that's something that I want to achieve also, is regardless of what people say, regardless of the opinions of others, not thinking of it and not letting it affect me, to a place where I can just be grateful for every moment, whether I have it, whether I don't have it, and just living life in gratitude, and just living life grateful for the crabs that are in the bucket and the crabs that are outside of the bucket.
Because you have to appreciate your haters too at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
Because without them, you ain't gonna do your best.
Exactly.
You know.
I feel like my dad knew how to like fandangle his way with people.
Fandango, huh?
Yeah, fandango his way with people.
I learned a new word today. Fandizo, huh?
But I feel like he knew how to
huh?
fandangle people to where, like, even people that weren't really fully on his side, he would get them. My dad is great with people. Great with people. And then he would use the people that weren't cheering him on, and he would climb on top of those crabs, and then he'd get out of that bucket. And then
move on to the next.
And move on to the next.
I mean, as it should be. You know,
it's
not always like a bad.
No, yeah.
You know, I mean, like that's how my father was too, and I think most of that generation of fathers, you know, applies to us now. That's what I give my kids. Just try to give them more. Give my kids more, and then you're spoiling them. But
that's your
I
blessing.
want to spoil my kids.
But that's
I know
your
I
blessing.
I should teach them. Yeah.
But that's your blessing.
It is. I don't ever want them to have to go through anything that I did. So it's the same thing my father said to me. Mm-hmm. You know, but which I never understood it, like growing up. Like, but now I get it. I get it. OG Peanut.
There's a lot of things that our parents speak with us. Like, I know there's a lot of things that my dad used to do, and I would be like, why would he do it this way? Why would he do it that way? Like, especially when we were first building the radio business. And my dad would endless nights be up working, and I'm like, how does he spend so many hours? Or there would be times where my dad would tell me or my brother G to, oh, can you get up? It's like midnight. Oh, get up, go. The radio, the CD stopped playing. You need to go and change the music so that way music keeps playing all night long. I have to wake up in the middle of the night, run over to the radio station, go change out the music, get the... because it was during that time where we didn't really have computers. It was just one of those like 5-disc CD changers. And so you had to consistently change the CDs to make sure
it came in handy though.
Yes, it did. 100%. It was like a 5-disc changer. Then you had to change the CDs every hour, or it would be playing the same music over and over again. People get tired of it. And so it was just one of those things that we had to do. And I would always be like, man, this is so much work. I don't know why my dad wants to do this radio thing. Like, so like this is affecting
5-disc CD changer.
Yeah,
I've always wanted one of those.
That's how we used to do it before we got a computer, in order to like actually create playlists and create like all the things you need to do in order to broadcast properly on a radio station. But we started from what we could. My dad started from what he could. And then from there it just grew. It grew into something, and now he has KKMP. Just seeing those humble beginnings and seeing like it start from what it started from nothing basically, and seeing it grow. And even though people were telling my dad like, oh, it's not gonna work, it's not a thing, but my dad was so passionate about it that he didn't even care about the other crabs. He climbed on top of the other crabs and got out of the bucket, and then created a successful radio station. Now in KKMP is a successful radio station. People listen to it all over the world. It's an island reggae station. And so just stuff like that, stuff where I've learned from my dad is regardless of what crabs are trying to bring you down, climb on top of the crabs and pursue your passion. Pursue the things that you want to pursue. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to make you happy. It's what made my dad happy. It's what makes my dad happy.
That's why he was so successful in that.
Exactly, because he's doing what he loves. His job is not a job to him. It's his passion. It's his love.
Well, because what is that saying that they use that, if you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so, which is why I love doing this podcast, because like doing this podcast with Cess, it takes me back to our radio days when we first started. And
tell the truth.
It does. It takes me back to those.
Go ahead.
It takes me back to those radio days where we had to be.
I'm just kidding.
Consistently making things work with what we had. Whether it was like using the tape to cut out pieces and putting it together to create radio advertisements, or leaving the thing on record and recording so many hours of footage just to use 30 seconds of that on an advertisement. Like, yeah, it does. It takes me back to when we first started doing the radio station, and I love it. And I never realized before I was so bitter towards my dad about leaving KNWJ and the Christian radio business to us to do. And I never understood it. I never understood why he decided to go and pursue his happiness elsewhere. And now that I'm in this position that I'm in now, I understand it. I understand why my dad wanted to pursue his passion, because when you love what you do and when you love the work that you're doing, it's not work anymore. It's
real love, right?
It is.
In a sense.
It is real love. Like, this is what real love feels like. Feels like it doesn't feel like work. It's just natural, and it's a different level of euphoria.
This is Cess from the Gate Podcast.
I'm Lisi. Deuces.
Chill.